Welcome to prehistoric warfare, where fighting meant throwing a rock harder than the other guy. Long before empires, flags, and battle plans, there were just rocks, sticks, and rage. Early humans lived in small tribes. When resources got scarce and water, food, shelter, they fought, and not politely. Archaeologists have found mass graves from 10,000 years ago, full of skeletons with crushed skulls and arrowheads stuck in bones. No written records, no strategy guides, just kill or be killed. Over time, these skirmishes became more organized. Tribes developed weapons, spears, clubs, bows, and with farming came territory. And with territory came more conflict. Some groups became stronger, others vanished. This cycle of survive, expand, fight, repeat would define all of human history. Welcome to the First War, a fight over survival. The earliest recorded wars date back over 5,000 years in ancient Mesopotamia. That's modern-day Iraq. These early city-states like Uruk, Ur, and Lagash fought over canals, farmland, and power. Picture this: dusty cities, mud brick walls, stick-spear soldiers yelling in Sumerian, and battles fought over who controls the river. Then came ancient Egypt, which had wars with Nubians to the south and Hittites to the north. Egyptians even had a chariot squad, basically the world's first tank division pulled by horses. Meanwhile, over in India, the Mahajanapadas were clashing. And in China, the Shang dynasty was already working out how to stab each other with bronze swords. But the real war kings? The Greeks and Persians. Cue the Persian Wars. The giant Persian Empire versus tiny Greek city-states like Athens and Sparta. You've probably heard of that one battle where 300 Spartans stood against the entire Persian army. That happened, they lost. But the Greeks, thanks to clever strategy, fast ships, and a bit of luck, eventually won. It's one of history's biggest underdog stories. And then, like every guy who wins a war, Alexander the Great came along and said, "Why stop here?" He conquered the entire known world before dying at age 32. From Greece to Egypt to India, his armies didn't just fight, they spread Greek culture, built cities, and inspired centuries of power-hungry copycats. Next stop, Rome, the original world-dominating empire. But Rome wasn't built in a day, and it definitely wasn't built without blood. First, the Romans fought their Italian neighbors, the Etruscans, the Samnites, basically anyone within stabbing distance. Then came the big leagues, the Punic Wars, Rome versus Carthage. Picture two superpowers of the ancient world locked in a Mediterranean slap fight that lasted over 100 years. One Carthaginian general, Hannibal, crossed the Alps with elephants. Elephants. It was like if a zoo declared war. But Rome eventually won, burned Carthage to the ground, and took over the western Mediterranean. Empire secured. Over the next few centuries, Rome expanded into modern-day France, Spain, Britain, Turkey, and parts of the Middle East. Their strategy? Build roads, build armies, conquer everything, repeat. But like all empires, Rome had a fatal flaw. It got too big to handle. Civil wars broke out. Barbarians knocked at the gates. The Western Roman Empire eventually collapsed in 476 CE. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, China, India, and the Islamic world were having their own era-defining conflicts. The Warring States period in China was a chaotic game of thrones, 7 kingdoms fighting for supremacy. Eventually, the Qin dynasty won and gave China its name. In India, the Maurya Empire rose, led by Ashoka the Great, who conquered a huge territory and then converted to Buddhism after seeing the horrors of war. Respect. And the Islamic caliphates? They spread rapidly through military conquest, from Spain to India, forming one of the largest empires in history. Enter the Middle Ages. First up, the Crusades. European Christians versus Muslim forces over control of the Holy Land. For 200 years, they launched wave after wave of religious wars. And spoiler, nobody really won. It was bloody, chaotic, and often involved armies getting lost, accidentally attacking the wrong cities, or just straight up looting stuff instead of fighting. Then there's the Mongol Empire, founded by Genghis Khan, a man who conquered more land in 25 years than the Romans did in 400. His armies were fast, ruthless, and terrifyingly efficient. Think of them as the medieval version of lightning. In Europe, the Hundred Years' War between England and France raged from 1337 to 1453. That's not a typo. It lasted over 100 years, mostly because kings couldn't agree on who got to wear the fancy crown. Meanwhile, the Ottoman Empire rose in the east. These guys took down the Byzantine Empire, captured Constantinople, and set up one of the most enduring empires in history. Welcome to the age of exploration. European powers like Spain, Portugal, France, and Britain started sailing everywhere, planting flags and saying, "This is ours now." This led to colonial wars all over the globe. Spain fought the Aztecs and Incas. Britain fought the Zulus and the Sikhs. France fought in Indochina. Basically, war went global. But eventually, people got tired of being colonized. Cue the revolutions. First, the American Revolution. Colonists versus Britain. It started with tea and taxes, ended with independence and firework. Then the French Revolution said, what if we overthrow the monarchy and try democracy? It got a bit head choppy. Haiti said, how about we become the first successful slave rebellion in history? Boom, independence. The 1800s were packed with rebellions, wars for independence, and power reshuffling, from Latin America to Southeast Asia. The 20th century decided, what if we made war global? World War I kicks off in 1914 when a Serbian assassin shoots an Austrian prince. Sounds small, it turns out it wasn't. Thanks to alliances, this tiny spark turns into a giant inferno. Countries start declaring war like it's Black Friday. Germany, France, Britain, Russia, the Ottoman Empire, all in. Soldiers dig trenches and stay there for 4 years. Mud, rats, gas attacks, fun times. In 1918, the war ends. But instead of fixing things, the peace treaty mostly blames Germany and gives them a huge bill. Fast forward to 1939, and guess what? World War II. Germany, now led by a very angry man with a very small mustache, invades Poland. Game on. This time it's even bigger. The Axis powers, Germany, Italy, Japan, versus the Allies, Britain, USSR, USA, and more. We get battles in Africa, Europe, and the Pacific. There are tanks, planes, code breakers, and the Holocaust, one of the darkest events in human history. The war ends in 1945 with 2 nuclear bombs dropped on Japan. The world is stunned. The Cold War begins. It's the Cold War. USA versus USSR. Capitalism versus communism. A staring contest with nukes. Instead of fighting directly, both sides flexed in proxy wars. Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan. Other people fought. The US and USSR supplied the weapons. It was also a time of spies, satellites, and propaganda posters. The CIA and KGB were basically international prank war champions. Then came the Cuban Missile Crisis, the closest we've ever been to nuclear war. For 13 days in 1962, the world held its breath while 2 guys argued over missiles in Cuba. Meanwhile, both sides kept building more nukes, racing to the moon, and debating who had better soft drinks. But in 1991, the Soviet Union collapsed. Economic problems, political upheaval, and a people fed up with standing in line for bread. The Cold War ended. But tension? That never fully went away. The Cold War might have ended, but conflict didn't take a break. Welcome to the 21st century, where wars are messier, borders blur, and tech plays a major role. First, terrorism. After September 11th, the US launched the War on Terror, targeting al-Qaeda and invading Afghanistan in 2001. Then came Iraq in 2003, under the claim of weapons of mass destruction. Turned out, there weren't any. These wars dragged on for decades, costing trillions in destabilizing regions. Then there's the Arab Spring, 2010 to 2012. A wave of protests across the Middle East. People demanded democracy. Some countries changed. Others spiraled into civil wars, like in Syria, which is still ongoing. Add in Yemen, Libya, and Sudan. Conflicts powered by foreign interests, religion, oil, and revenge. Meanwhile, Russia and Ukraine clashed in 2014 over Crimea. Then in 2022, it exploded into a full-scale war, the biggest in Europe since World War II. And don't forget cyber warfare. Now, nations attack each other with hacks, leaks, and code, not just tanks. Drones strike from the sky. Satellites spy from orbit. Wars today aren't just on battlefields. They're online, economic, political, and psychological. Welcome to the new era of war, less predictable, more digital, and still very human.